The case is obviously a corruption of the law, lawfare. And you know who noticed? President Trump. President Trump retruthed it, and I think that's great. So here we are. One of the most popular people in American history is locked up in court for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Didn't the current president say he would do everything he could to bring this country together? This is one of the most divisive things that could ever happen to a country. What about this solemn promise?
Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation.
Big words, huh? What did he say? What does that mean? Maybe he has no soul. His whole soul was in it. He hasn't lifted a finger to unite this country. It really does. I wonder, does this man have a soul? You know, if he really cared about democracy and all these judges and prosecutors, maybe they'd make an appointment to see Chuck Schumer. This is a man who's violated federal law, and he did it with 1 million witnesses.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you.
That's threatening. That's against the law. And, of course, some maniac showed up at Judge Kavanaugh's house with a bag full of guns. But he's a Democrat. He gets immunity. It's wrong. Everybody knows it. Even they know it. What's going to happen? I don't know. But I sense it's going to be glorious.
This particular case, it's only a rush to judgment, if you will. It's a rush to convict President Trump because they went ahead and moved this to the head of the line. You know how they always say, hey, no one's above the law? Well, no one's below the law either. And to emphasize that, I want you to hear Judge Jeanine, what she had to say about it.
But here's the issue. The case should never have been brought. The truth is that there are people, criminals, defendants in jail on violent crimes long before this indictment was brought against Donald Trump, whose case should have been prioritized, as opposed to their reaching out and pulling out the most recent case with a defendant who's not charged with a violent crime, who is not in jail, and they're saying, let's try this first. Why? It's political. It's all political.
That's exactly right. That is exactly correct. Right now, you hear the Democrats, especially President Biden, talking all the time about how democracy is on the election ballot. And you know what? I agree. It is on the ballot, but it's not the way Joe Biden wants you to believe it's on the ballot. It's on the ballot because if it continues the way the Democrats under Joe Biden are running things, we are really going to have problems. And here's a video to drive that home. Tell me what you think.
It dignifies this assault to even pretend that there is a legal theory here. The only legal theory at question is trying to throw Joe Biden's political opponent behind bars. That is it. So when you hear them say that democracy is on trial, they're right. Democracy is on trial. Freedom is on trial. The rule of law is on trial. All these things are on trial. They are on trial with Donald Trump. Yeah. Because if Donald Trump is convicted, then
we're on trial.
Stephen are convicted and destroyed with him.
Stephen Miller, you and I are on trial. Every single person watching is on trial right now. Because if they can do this to someone, they can to Trump. They can do it to anyone. That's a coined phrase. But think about that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. There is democracy on trial, but it's not the way that the mainstream press would want you to think that it's on trial for. It's just simply not true. And when you hear them talk about how the Republicans are into violence and the Republicans are trying to stir up trouble, take a look at this.
Press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish. I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
That you cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
President Walker, how do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
When they go low, we kick them.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Yes, I have thought
an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful video, in my opinion. I like the way they put that together. And folks, remember this. It's not just a small group of us that are knowing what's going on. I can assure you there is what I think Ronald Reagan used to call it the silent majority. There is a silent majority. We need to stop being so silent, and we all need to go ahead and speak out kind of the way Elon Musk does.
The case is obviously a corruption of the law, lawfare. And you know who noticed? President Trump. President Trump retruthed it, and I think that's great. So here we are. One of the most popular people in American history is locked up in court for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Didn't the current president say he would do everything he could to bring this country together? This is one of the most divisive things that could ever happen to a country. What about this solemn promise?
Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation.
Big words, huh? What did he say? What does that mean? Maybe he has no soul. His whole soul was in it. He hasn't lifted a finger to unite this country. It really does. I wonder, does this man have a soul? Now, if he really cared about democracy and all these judges and prosecutors, maybe they'd make an appointment to see Chuck Schumer. This is a man who's violated federal law, and he did it with 1 million witnesses.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you.
That's threatening. That's against the law. And of course, some maniac showed up at Judge Kavanaugh's house with a bag full of guns. But he's a Democrat. He gets immunity. It's wrong. Everybody knows it. Even they know it. What's going to happen? I don't know. But I sense it's going to be glorious. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I like old Greg Kelly over on Newsmax. I think he's got some good commentary and good programs on there. And folks, I agree with your comments, by the way. You have to be careful who you are talking to because people tend to get bent out of shape. And by the way, Sapphire, I like your idea of Pam Bondi as AG. That's not a bad idea. Former Attorney General here in the state of Florida. She is a class act and personally like her. Not only is she a very beautiful woman, she is very smart and she was a great Attorney General. And I believe she would make another fantastic Attorney General. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Now, listen, on a quick programming note, I want to remind everybody that probably within the next week or so, I'm going to have a production, a live video where we're going to go over a case that's about to go before the Supreme Court that's very, very important. That has to do with President Trump's immunity that the Supreme Court has agreed to take up. And we're going to take a very deep dive into that, but you need to understand why that is important. It's not just for President Trump. If President Trump is not granted, I should say the presidency is not granted absolute immunity or at least some kind of qualified immunity the way police officers enjoy, then effectively what you're going to have is the deep state will swallow up the presidency. The reason for that is when any president leaves office, if another party takes over, they're going to have to worry about what Donald Trump is going through right now, and that is one of the 2,300 prosecutors in this country having a pair of handcuffs waiting for the president as they're leaving office to hold them accountable for each and every decision that they take. And friends, that is a very, very scary proposition when you think about it. I think Trey Gowrie would be a good option for Attorney General too, Ken. That's pretty good. Yeah, and they have been friends for a long time, Trump and Pam Bondi. And I believe someone pointed out the Judge Janine has been friends for quite some time. That's definitely true. All right, I appreciate each and every one of you joining me. I always say, keep that mind free and never give up. And until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.